What's up, everybody?
Hello.
What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Saturday
Night.
night.
Good evening,
Testing.
everyone. Can you hear my mic? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I'm gonna turn it up just a little tiny bit.
So welcome to Saturday night, everyone. That sounds better.
Yep. What's up? It's Saturday night, so you know what that means. That means it's time for another episode of Have a Conversation After Dark.
Mm-hmm.
If you are watching this for the first time, whether it be live or on the replay, we would love for you to share it.
Yes.
And the reason why we love for you to share it is because the more people that are a part of this, the better the conversation is, because it's really you guys that make the conversation in the comments. And so it is, we need to have you here. So if you're here, let us know that you're here. If you're testing, I don't know if I should put it up or not, because I don't know how loud it sounds outside. But if you're here, let us know you're here. If you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, let us know you're here. This is going to be, I say this, I get on here and say this often, that it's going to be a short one. And then we end up going the full hour anyway, because people kind of start coming in later on.
Yeah.
So
It's okay.
it starts off kind of slow in the beginning in terms of people's engagement, and then it picks up after a while. But anyway, here's what we're talking about tonight. We're gonna jump right into the conversation, and as people come in, they can lend their 2 cents. So if you looked at the description, or if you looked at the title, I believe said something to the effect of, we're happily married, and we don't have sex. And I didn't spell out sex. I put SE with the ... But essentially, that's the topic. We're happy. We're happily married, and we don't have sex. Now, the question that I'm posing is that possible? And as you ponder that question, is it possible to be happily married, to have a healthy relationship, to have a long lasting marriage without having sex? Now, where's that coming from? Uh, for those of you that are new to this is not an advice show. So we try to stay away from advice, although it comes out quite often.
It does.
This is really just about getting folk to have conversations, because what we have encountered through our coaching experience is that there are so many conversations that do not take place. There are conversations that don't take place in the home. There are conversations that don't take place in church. There's conversations that don't take place in families, and the list goes on and on, right?
Mhm.
So some of these conversations come out of our coaching experience. Some of them come out of stuff that we read, and today is out of something that we've read. So I read an article about, and I think they changed the names just to protect themselves, but the article is about a couple named Brian and Allison.
Mhm.
Brian and Allison.
I'm going live over here.
Okay, cool. Brian and Allison have been married for 25 years.
Mhm.
Brian and Allison have 2 grown children. Their daughter is actually about to get married. Now, here's Brian and Allison's story. Married for 25 years.
Yep.
When they met and started dating, Brian was very happy that there was no pressure to have sex. Allison was a virgin when they met. They dated for 18 months.
That's a red flag already. Go ahead.
That's okay. We'll come to the red flags. So Allison was a virgin when they met. They dated for 18 months.
Allison was a virgin.
Virgin. Yes, when they met. They dated for 18 months. They got married. And the story that they tell is, on their honeymoon, they had sex just because they felt like they had to. Not necessarily because it was something they wanted to do. They felt like they had to. Now, very quickly after that, Allison got pregnant. And the word they used was they were relieved that she had gotten pregnant so quickly. This is so that they wouldn't have to have sex. The next time they have sex after that pregnancy is...
Well, you can still have sex when you're pregnant, but go ahead.
Right. But the next time they have sex after that pregnancy is 2 years down the road.
When they're trying to have another child.
Exactly. So their child is 2 years old. The husband looks at her and is like, how about another child? And so they have sex again over a period of 6 weeks so that she can get pregnant. That is the last time they had sex. Now, Brian and Allison have been married for 25 years. The last time they had sex was when their first child was 2 years old, so that they could have their second child. That was it.
Red flag number 1. He
Okay.
was relieved. You said that he was relieved what?
He was so let me get the exact word he said. So
when they first got married or something
Yep.
like that.
He said, we were delighted when Allison got pregnant straight away.
But didn't you say something about him being relieved?
Yeah, that was the wrong word. He said they were delighted. So basically, she got pregnant very quickly after the honeymoon.
And they were glad.
They were delighted because they didn't have to have sex anymore.
They didn't want to have sex anymore.
They didn't have sex anymore.
They use the pregnancy as an excuse to not have sex, because you can still have sex when you're pregnant.
Well, I don't think he even used the pregnancy as an excuse. They just didn't feel like they just didn't want to have sex. So after she got pregnant the first time, they didn't have sex again until their first child was 2, and that was to have their second child.
Yeah.
After their second child, they did not have sex. So it has been 20 years since they have had sex. Now, to give you context, there are no issues What they said was, hey, we have a spat every once in a while, like every other couple, but we're still cuddly. We're still as interested as we were in each other. We're still attracted to each other. We still hang out as much as we do. We still do everything. We just don't have sex.
So your question is it possible to have a marriage where there's no sex?
Right. So, and I'm taking that from them, right? Is it possible to have a healthy, long lasting, satisfying marriage with no sex? They are proof, or maybe they aren't. Maybe they're an anomaly, but they are proof right now of the argument that you can do that.
You
Right.
can do that, but I think that the absence of sexual intimacy, there is I guess a lack that if they're satisfied,
Mhm.
there's
That's a lot of
oh,
that's a lot of
come
air quotes.
on. If they're satisfied,
Mhm.
there's a lack then, I say, um that they're not even aware of.
That's possible.
Do you know what I mean?
It's possible. I'll give some more context to the article. What's up, Darren? Thank you for being
Hi,
here.
Darren.
Darren said, "What? No
Thank
way,
you. No way.
mercy." Miss Humble Five said, "That's interesting. I'm intrigued. I was intrigued as well.
She's intrigued.
I was intrigued as well when
Yeah,
I
that's
read that article." And yes, Darren, they both didn't want to have sex. So when they first met, the first thing he says, because how the article is written is that he tells his version, so you get Brian's story,
mhm.
and then she tells her version under Allison's story. What he said was when they met, he he loved the fact that he did not feel the pressure to have sex like other relationships.
That is what that's the red flag, people. That's a red flag, don't you think?
I don't know, but tell me why you think it is. I
I
mean, I
think
think I don't think that's a red flag. I mean, he didn't, maybe in his
how do
other
you
relationships, they just jumped straight to it. They didn't become friends first, and he was just like, man, this is just refreshing. I'm putting words in their mouth because it doesn't say that in the article, but maybe it was just refreshing that he was like, oh man, this chick ain't really trying to sleep with me right off the bat.
I'm not saying that every male is that's not on their mind, but I just
You
feel
just think that's a
like
red flag.
the pressure being taken off of him. I understand, like, let's build the relationship, let's get to know each other.
Hmm.
I get that. I understand that.
Hmm.
But it almost to me sounds like he didn't want to have sex with her, period.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying have sex right away,
Hmm.
but the thought wasn't there even. Like, I
So,
don't know.
so what? And I see Miss Humble Five's question, and the article goes on to talk about asexuality. I'm gonna put that up in a second. But in the beginning, right? Um, what what he says is that he um he said he slept with two girls when the relationship reached that stage because it would have been odd not to.
Wait, huh?
He's talking about before he met Allison, right?
When the two other relationships reached that stage, you're saying?
Right.
Okay, okay.
So Miss Humble Five said, "Are they both asexual?" I'm gonna come to that in just a second. Darren said, "Are they attractive?" I'm gonna get to that in just a second as well. So here's what Brian says. Brian says he's talking about the fact that when he met Allison, there was no pressure to have sex, and he liked that. And he's given context. So he says that he slept with two girls when the relationship reached that stage because it would have been odd not to, but sex left me cold and I
I
wasn't
wasn't
very
very
good at
good
it.
at it.
I couldn't see what the
Okay.
fuss was about. And when I was in
Mm.
my early 20s, it was all my friends thought about. So now, fast forward, he meets Allison at a party. They're smitten
I'm
straight
thinking of
away.
something.
They're smitten straight away. So to speak to what Darren said, they must be attracted to each other because they're smitten straight away. He says she's pretty, petite, and funny. And he goes on with these other qualities. And they went out for 18 months and didn't feel the same pressure to have sex that he had before.
And
Now, fast forward down to in Allison's story, she was a
She's
virgin.
a virgin. Or
He
she
didn't
was a
say
virgin.
right. He didn't say that though in his
Right.
part of the story.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right there. So let me get Daniel's copy. It's possible, Daniel says. I heard that in some cultures, somewhere in some remote parts of the world, couples in lifelong relationships have sex for the reproductive purposes only, not
Yeah.
for pleasure.
Yeah.
So they only have sex when they think it's time to have another child, which is what happened here as well.
Yes, but
Darren
I
shaking his head.
agree, Daniel. Daniel, I agree. In some cultures,
Mhm.
that is literally the only reason why they have sex. I don't think in this scenario that is the case.
Tell
Well,
me what-
they made that to be the case, but
Mhm.
I don't think that it was a cult because of a culture thing.
Yeah, for this it doesn't give off the vibes that it was a cultural thing. Allison basically was just not into it. Is
But
basically what she's saying.
what stood out to me is what's the guy's name again?
Brian.
What Brian said.
Mhm.
He said something about he wasn't very good at it.
Yes, he did say that. Talking about the two previous
The
relationships.
two prior relationships. So maybe in his mind, maybe he's just like, I don't want her to think that I'm not good at it. So I'm just like,
yeah, but
let me just not.
But
let's just not.
What does that say for Allison though? Because she don't want to do it either. And here's some more context. Here's some more context for the story, right? As they go throughout their marriage, they're comfortable with the fact that they're not having sex at all.
I think they were both afraid.
It could be, but this, as Allison tells the story, they're comfortable, right? But what Brian says is that down the line, because all their friends, their family can't believe that they're in a sexless marriage. Their friend Allison talks about her girlfriends, and that's all they talk about is either them having sex or not, or there's something going on, or their husbands always wanted that kind of thing. So they said about 5 years ago, there was I forgot the word he used, but basically 5 years ago, she came to him feeling somewhat insecure. Okay, is there something wrong with us?
Right.
Should we go get counseling? Because up until that point, they're like, hey, we've been cool with this. Yeah. But is there really something wrong with us? And so he was worried. Here's what's crazy. He was worried that she actually wanted to have sex and would potentially cheat on him. That was his concern when she came to him and was like, are we normal?
Yeah.
His words, I didn't care about normal. I was only concerned about whether she wanted to have sex and if she was going to cheat on me. She assured him that wasn't the case. It's just that this is so different from what everybody else around them is doing that I guess she just had a moment of insecurity, right?
I think they were both scared to have sex. That's what
20 years?
Fear. Yeah.
That's a lot of fear. That is heavy fear. 20 years. Darren said he also said it was not what he thought it was all about per his friends' conversations. Yes, that's true. Camilla's in the building. What's happening?
Camilla.
Both fans are here. They're both here. One is here.
You know I got it.
The other one is over there.
I can't show it to you because it's really big. But you know they're here.
Yeah, they're here. They are here. So let me ask this, right? let me ask this question. Ms. Humble 5 said, ain't that much fear in the world. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're afraid for 20, that is a phobia of phobias. If you're afraid for 20 years to have sex, like that is.
But she was a virgin. Remember, she was a virgin.
She was a virgin. Mm-hmm.
Maybe for her, it was the whole purity culture thing. You know, some people can't get past that.
That's possible.
And it's really big. And so the whole fear. And she was like, well, he don't want to do it anyway, so I'm good. Because I don't even want to try because the whole purity culture thing. I don't know. And he was like, well, she's a virgin and she don't want to do it anyway. And it wasn't that great the first 2 times I did it. So
maybe I don't know. But
I don't get it.
But they claim they are happily married. They have a daughter that's about to get married shortly.
Yeah.
They have not had sex in 20 years. They are happily married, right? Allison, to speak to what Darren said about are they attractive? Allison says this.
Darren.
Allison says this. We still look okay for a couple in their late 40s. So I'm guessing most people just assume we have sex. Brian's very masculine and I'm very feminine in looks. So I doubt anyone thinks we don't have sex. And I must admit that matters to me. What people think is
What
basically
people
what she's saying.
think.
That matters to me, right? And that's why she said, that's why they talked about a few years ago. It bothered me because we seem different from how everyone
Everybody
else is
else.
portrayed.
Yeah.
I suggested counseling, but Brian thought that meant I wasn't happy with him. I am. But I wonder sometimes what we're missing out on. Does everyone else have amazing sex? And if we spoke to the right person, could we be doing that too?
It's only one way to find out, sis.
Only one way to find out. 20 years, folks. So the
That's
question that I have for
wild.
you, there's two questions. One, is this possible? What Stephanie say?
She said, Ma, you're making up scenarios that's not there.
And-
They said
right.
they're happy and fine.
They said they're happy, right? So here's
I
the
just don't get that.
So here's the
20
thing.
years?
Can you be in a long-term marriage? Can you have long-lasting marriage, healthy marriage, still be attracted to each other? Because they say in here they're still just as interested in each other as they were in the beginning. They still hang out just as much. They're talking about taking dancing lessons together so they can dance at their daughter's wedding and all this kind of stuff. They still kicking it. She used the word cuddly. He used some other word, kisses and all that kind of stuff. They're doing all of that. They're just not having sex and have not had sex for 20 years. Is that possible?
Yes, it's possible. I think that, again, I think that they don't realize how much better their relationship could be
Mhm.
with sex incorporated into it. Intimacy, sexual
okay.
intimacy incorporated into their relationship. Obviously, it's possible if they're saying they're happy, but I think that they are missing out on something and they don't realize that they are.
Oh, I know they're missing out on something. I know that for a fact. That's the one thing I do know. They are missing out on something. They're just cool with it, right? And I saw Camilla's comment, the way the church makes it seem, sex seem that she could see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up, Carrie Ann? Carrie Ann is in the
What's
building.
up, Carrie Ann?
What's happening?
Sis.
Also, it is a scenario. Is it a scenario where two people with low libido married each other? Now they don't say that.
They don't say that,
but that could be the case.
How wild would that be? Both of them?
If you make it 20 years without having sex and you say you're happy and you are still attracted to them, because that's all of that is in the article. They're saying they're happy. They're still as interested in each other as they were from day one. He's masculine. She's feminine. She thought she was pretty and petite and funny. They still feel the same way. They still hanging out. But in 20 years, they have not had sex. And they are okay with that.
I don't know.
So this came up again. Carrie Ann said this, that maybe they are both asexual. Now, in the article then goes on to, after both of them tell their story, to dig into celibate versus sexless versus asexual. And it kind of talks through that. Now, they don't categorize themselves as asexual, but the article goes on to give us some context around celibate versus sexless versus asexual. Now, here's an interesting statistic. About 15% of married couples do not have sex. Now, what that stat does not chronicle is what the reason is and how happy the couples are.
Right.
So it doesn't say that 15% of married couples don't have sex and they're okay cool with that.
Right.
It's just a stat, right? Yeah. So we don't know the breakdown. So we don't know how many couples like this actually exist, right? Now, let me flip it, because that's what I do. If today, for all of you who are on here who are married, and I'm going to ask you this as well. If I come to you next week, hold on, we got some, I missed some comments. Brian is here. What's up, good, fam? The champ is here. I appreciate that.
Champ?
Thanks for coming through. Appreciate that. it's clear they are compatible.
It's
They are.
clear.
They are. They
It's
talk about
clear.
all the fun they're having. They going to dancing classes. They doing all that kind of stuff, right?
They going to the wrong dancing classes.
Yeah, they are. You're right. Because I can't go to no dancing class with her.
What?
Private. We need a private dancing class. Brian said somebody lying. No way wife is gonna walk around the room with a towel on and Buddy gonna chill on the
This is
PS5.
what I'm saying.
Bro, I'm with you. So let's be
agree.
clear.
I agree.
Let's be clear. I don't understand how they went 20 years.
20.
And here's what's even crazier. They had sex on their honeymoon.
Mhm.
And they said they had sex on their honeymoon because they felt like they had to.
Something happened. Maybe something happened. Here go another scenario, Steph. Maybe something happened, and subconsciously it just made them have an aversion to sex.
Read Stephanie's comment.
Stephanie says, it doesn't have to be that they're missing out on anything, though. It's just a different type of relationship than your norm. Their relationship can be as fine as the best marriage you know.
So that's a true statement. I mean, although we may not understand it, that is actually a true statement. I mean,
I guess.
That it is a true statement.
I guess.
It would be me, Terrence, or it wouldn't be me. Which one? Darren said tread lightly. So I'm gonna be good, but I'm gonna flip it because I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Camilla said 15% not getting their back cracked. Unhappy people. Daniel said we should also note that because of our exposure to all forms of self-pleasure or masturbation, which can be more pleasurable and satisfying, that partnered sex in some cases, some married couples may prefer self-pleasure or masturbation than having sex with their partner. With time, this takes away the desire of sex for your married partner. This is a major problem in most married. And I agree with that.
I don't agree with your last sentence.
You don't?
I don't agree with the last sentence. That it's a major problem
in most married. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Relationships.
So the word
I
most.
agree with everything you said except for the most. However,
it is a problem in a lot of relationships.
I don't know if that's what's the issue here.
And here's the thing. We only know what they put in the article.
True.
So they could be showing us their good side.
Right.
But according to the article, they are happy. According to the article. They had sex on their honeymoon because they thought they had to. She got pregnant. They were elated that she got pregnant. The next time they had sex was 2 years later, a 6-week period so that she could get pregnant again. And that was it.
That was it. I mean,
Terrence said it couldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
I know.
Wouldn't be
right.
me. LOL regarding the 15%. Yeah, the people not getting their back cracked. So here's the question I have to ask for all the married folk in the room. You've been married for the amount of time you've been married, right? Your spouse comes to you. I come to you this week. I'm down here working and I have an epiphany and I come up to you and I'm like, babe, you know what? I don't want to have sex anymore. What happens next?
I would ask you why.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask you, why did you come to that? Like how?
Mm-hmm. So what if I tell you, listen, babe, it has nothing to do with you. I think you are as sexy as the day that I met you. I love everything you wear. I love how you look. I'm attracted to you. Listen,
that doesn't even make sense.
I just don't want to have sex anymore.
That doesn't make sense.
How does it not make sense though?
If you're attracted to me,
how can you tell me what makes sense to me?
How can you say you're attracted to me and then say that you don't want to have sex with me? There's a problem. So I would try to figure out, or try to help you figure out what the issue is, because clearly there's an issue.
Well, why does there have to be with Brian in our article with Brian and Allison? There is no issue. They're still attracted to each other. So you would try to help. You would try to help fix me, basically.
I wouldn't try to help fix you,
mm-hmm.
but I would try to figure out what the problem is after all this time. And
okay,
you just not know.
So
that don't make sense,
because we're talking about having a conversation, right? And this is all about having conversation. How does that conversation go? In terms of you trying to get me to see what it is you want me to see? How does that conversation go? I come to you and say, babe, listen, I need you to understand something. I've come to this conclusion that for me, sexual intimacy is just, it's not for me anymore. Right. Everything else is fine. I love cuddling with you. I'm still, physical touch is still my number one love language. I still love to be around you. I still love to cuddle. Still love to feel your skin against mine. There is absolutely nothing wrong. I just don't want to have sex anymore.
No, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Do I not arouse you? That would be a question I would ask.
That would be a good question. And they didn't talk about
Are you
arousal.
not aroused? Can I not arouse you? Like, what is the problem? What happened? That's what I would need to know. Stephanie says, attraction doesn't mean I want to have sex, though. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't necessarily.
It doesn't. And here's the thing. What if I say yes, I am aroused?
Oh, then there's a
No,
problem.
no, hold on. Yes, I am aroused, but not sexually.
How is that possible? What's the arousal then? What other arousal is there?
There's all kinds of arousal, because the skin to skin contact produces oxytocin, right?
What does arousal mean?
You're saying, do I stand at attention?
Right.
Okay. What if I do and I still don't want to have sex? That's impossible. Okay. I'm throwing questions out there.
That's not possible.
So let me catch these comments. Terrence said he has a side piece.
Thank you.
He has a side piece. Well, I mean, that could be the case.
I wonder.
He could be lying to us, but from what he said, it's almost like he is more relieved that she don't want to have sex.
Something wrong with him.
She was a virgin, so she didn't know what she was missing anyway. She had sex on her honeymoon because he was like, that's what we're supposed to do. So yeah, I don't know. Darren said that would not work for me. So if Miss Humble 5 came to you tonight and was like, listen, Darren, you are the best thing since sliced bread. Every time I look at you, I just have the same love that I have for you that I had on day one. I just don't want to have sex no more.
Oh, no.
Not all attractions is sexual.
Right. That's what someone said.
I also
here.
love conversation. Okay. Are they dressed like monks?
Thank you. Exactly. Because ain't no way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ain't no way.
Listen, I'm just telling you what they said. So after all that time, it make me think something is going on.
Something is going on.
Listen, they could be lying to us. They really could be lying to us. Yes, sir. No worries, man. I'll connect with you. If you're around tomorrow, bro, I'll connect with you. Doc Parks is in the house. Appreciate you.
What's up, Doc?
Darren said I would be calling y'all. I know that's right. The art of going live. Some people get aroused through so many different things. He could get aroused by seeing his wife with someone else. We can't put our beliefs all the time on someone else. So that's true. Let's take the someone else off the table just for the context of this story, right? So Brian, according to the story, Brian and Allison are not sleeping with anybody else. There's no third party. There's nothing else going on. They didn't talk about masturbation. They didn't talk about none of that. Now, that's not to say that it's not happening, but they didn't talk about it.
They didn't talk about it in the article.
Right. So with all of that off the table, you don't feel like it's possible. You still feel like there's got to be something going on.
I mean, clearly it's possible because they said that they're happy, they're good, they're content. But what I'm saying is, if that is truly the case with them, this fan, I need the fan, yet it's messing with my throat. If that is truly the case with them, I feel like they don't realize how much better their relationship could be if they were to incorporate.
I agree with that.
Sexual intimacy. That's what
I agree. I agree with that.
That's what I agree
with that. Miss Humble 5 said, I would respect his choice to not have sex anymore, but he has to buy me some expensive toys. Wink, wink.
I know that's right.
I get that. I get that. Doc Park. So here's the question we're asking. The question we're asking is, can you have a long-lasting, healthy, fulfilling marriage where you are still attracted, still just as interested, as you were on day one, but without sex. And that comes from a story about Brian and Allison, who have been married for 25 years. And for 20 of those years, they have not had sex. And the only reason they had sex in the beginning was on their honeymoon. They thought they had to. And she got pregnant. They were relieved that she got pregnant. Well, that's my word, relieved. They use a different word. The next time they had sex was 2 years later for a 6-week period so she could get pregnant again. After that child was born, it's been 20 years. They haven't had sex. Is that possible in our lives?
My answer is I could be way off. My answer is that yes, they could be happy
Mm-hmm.
and even quote unquote fulfilled, satisfied, whatever it is that they said. But I feel like they don't, if this is truly what is going on, because I'm not sure I'm 100% that they're giving us the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is truly their story,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that they don't realize how much more fulfilling and how much better their relationship could be if they were to incorporate sexual intimacy and not just every other kind of intimacy into their relationship. Could be
Okay.
way off, but that's just what do you think?
I'm going to tell you in just a second. I'm going to tell you, other than procreation, Carrie Ann says they may not like how it feels. That's possible. Now, here's the thing. There's not a lot of context. The only context they give in this article when they both tell their side, so they have Brian's story, then they have Allison's story. They both tell their sides. The only context they give in this article is around the fact that they're great. And the only reason an issue came up 5 years ago was because they were like, okay, we are so different than everybody else. Maybe there's a problem.
Yeah.
But they dispelled that because he thought that she meant she wasn't happy. And she was like, no, I'm happy. It's just so different than the rest of the world.
I was going to say, to Carrie Ann's point, I was going to say, sometimes you just have to try and do it until it does feel good. But if she's a virgin and he hasn't had that much sex, I guess, I don't know, how would they know? I guess maybe what they felt when they had sex was what they thought that it was always going to be, and they were like, I don't like this.
It could be. I mean, we're all speculating at this point, right? Because they don't allude to any of that.
Right.
Right. Married with Benefits said, how can we say it's better if it's been 20 years together? Something must be working. Some couples have sex 4 times a week and divorce. And you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We don't know. All we know is what's in that article. And according to that article, they cool.
Yeah.
They've been married 25 years. 20 of those years have been sexless, and they cool.
Yeah.
According to the article. It's possible Doc Park says that they have an aversion to sex due to past trauma.
Did I not say that?
You did say that. Believe it or not, some people don't like sex for various reasons.
That is exactly what I said, Doc Parks. I said, maybe something happened previously. Maybe subconsciously they have an aversion to it because of something that happened previously. I said that upstairs.
That's possible.
Yep.
That is possible. So again, purely speculation. She was a virgin before they got married.
Darren.
So that could be, we don't know, right? If they don't want it, they don't want it. Just not my testimony. Hey, I hear you, Doc. Mine either, brother. How old were they when they got married? Now,
what's up, Carrie?
Now, my guess, according to what they talked about with their children and where they are now, is that they got married in their 20s.
Yeah, the early 20s.
Right, because they have been married 25 years and they're according to this article, in their late 40s.
Right.
So they got married young.
And they said that one of their children is about to get
their
married.
daughter is about to get married, and their daughter is the oldest child of the two.
So
Terrence said, "Bring her to me. We'll fix her." That's what's up. So that's the question. Listen, according to everybody in the comments, that's not a life for them, right?
Not a life for me either.
And only Darren answered the question. If your spouse were to come to you today and tell you they don't want sex anymore, how are you going to handle that?
Yeah, that's
And there is no issue. So
there
let
is
me
an issue. There is an issue.
so if what is the issue?
I don't know, but you gotta figure that out
I
because you
can't make
can't.
up an issue. If I'm like, babe, listen, I still feel 100% the same way I felt.
You can't. You
I just
can't
don't want to
feel
do that anymore.
100% the way you felt.
Um,
There
what was
must
that,
be an
Carrie?
issue. That's my
Carrie
girl,
said it must be
Carrie.
an issue. Okay, so let's play devil's advocate.
I don't like when you say that, but go ahead.
Okay, whatever the more better word term for that is. If I come to you tomorrow and I'm like, babe, I've been thinking about it, I've been praying about it, and I don't want to have sexual, I just don't want to have sex with you anymore. Now, let me ease your mind by telling you that this has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's not about whether you're attractive or not. It's not about whether I'm attracted to you or not. That is just a part of where I believe I'm headed in my life's trajectory.
I agree, Carrie.
What did Carrie say?
Carrie said, medical, emotional, psychological, something's happening. We need to draw labs.
All right. All right.
Yeah, I agree. That's I agree with that. Something's happening.
So Carrie Ann said, must be trauma.
Yeah.
Miss Humble 5 said, I would respect this decision. That's right. Miss Humble 5 did answer the question. She said, you got to buy some toys, right?
Yeah.
That's what she said. Do your thing, but, you know, help me do mine, basically. Carrie Ann said, Jesus don't agree with that either.
No, that's right.
All right. So let me flip the script because everybody agrees.
Nope. I want to know your response.
You want to know my response?
Your answer.
So my answer is going to come, obviously, from my point of view, obviously, right? I don't know that I could have a long-lasting, healthy, fulfilling marriage with no sex.
Do you think
I don't believe that I could do that?
Do you think if it was that long of in space of time, 20 years for us, do you think you would still be in this relationship?
No.
You don't.
No.
You wouldn't be.
And if I am still in this relationship, unfortunately, as terrible as this sounds, I'm finding it in other things and or other people.
You're saying
after
if it
20
had been,
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not faithful at this point.
Wow.
After 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not a revelation, Elizabeth. You look at me like that. You look at me like I've said something shocking. That's not shocking at all.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, here's the thing. Let me flip that. Would you still be here after 20 years? See, you thought too long. So that's the answer. You would not be here after 20 years if we were not having sex. You wouldn't. And you are an upstanding, value-driven person. You are. And you still wouldn't be here after 20 years. I can guarantee you. You wouldn't be here. Not after 20 years. Not if sex is important to you.
So, Carrie, according to the article, they were not having sex with anyone else. They just chose not to. Other than procreation, they have 2 children. Other than that, honestly, they had sex on their wedding night, their honeymoon, because they felt like they should have or they were supposed to. And other than that, they have 2 children. Was that the only 2 other times?
That's it. So they had sex during their honeymoon because they felt like they had to. She got pregnant.
She got pregnant on their.
Well, they didn't say, but they used the word straight away. So I'm assuming that she got pregnant during that period of time.
Okay.
The very next time they had sex again was 2 years later.
2 years later when she conceived again.
For a 6-week period where they were trying to have another baby.
Conceive. And since then, 20 years
20
later,
years have passed.
They have not had sex.
They've been married 25 years. So Doc Park says anyone is going to feel there is an issue because you came to that conclusion. Okay. I mean, that's fair.
Anyone is going to feel that
if I come to that conclusion after this amount of time, anybody's going to feel like there's an issue. While
Mm.
sex is fundamental, marriage is caring for one another in good or bad times, hence the vow. So if my
Mhm.
wife is to approach me to say she doesn't want to have sex in the relationship anymore, I'll consider sex and relationship counseling to get to the bottom of it and to resolve it.
Agreed.
Okay.
100% agree.
Brian said his wifey says she don't want to have sex no more. I have to get a side piece is the other comment.
Have to get a
Yeah.
side joint. I feel bad about that.
If you don't feed me, I will eat. If you don't take care of home, you can't be mad when they roam. There it is.
Mm.
I know that sounds bad.
Oof. Yeah, it does.
That sounds bad, but if we're being truthful, if you can't go a long period of time without sex, and I love where the conversation is going because I'm literally going somewhere that has something to do with this next.
Like what B says here?
Wait, so they
Wait, so they felt like they had to on their wedding night. Then they both were planning this prior.
So Brian, yes. So in the article, he talks about the fact that when he met her, he had two previous relationships where he had sex when the time came for it, basically, when the relationship got to that point. But he was like, what's the big deal? Basically, is what he was saying. So when he met her
Mm-hmm.
and there was no pressure to have sex, he said that was fantastic, basically.
Yeah, he
So
was
yeah.
cool with that.
And they both felt like they had to do it on their wedding night because that's what people do
Yeah.
on their wedding night. But that was the last time they had it until 2 years later, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Now, here's the beauty of
Crazy,
some of
right,
these.
Carrie?
Here's the beauty of some of these comments because where I'm going now is, and whose comment was that? If you, I don't know whose comment it was, but here's where I'm going next. So if you look in the description, I asked that question about no sex, but I also asked the question of the other side of the coin is maintenance sex.
Maintenance sex.
Now, if you look up maintenance sex in so many words, I'm just going to give my own definition. Maintenance sex is when you are having sex so that lapses of time don't happen or so that your spouse will not feel dissatisfied. Maintenance, like you would maintain your home so that something doesn't happen. But it doesn't always mean that you're just horny and man, let's get it on. You don't have that feeling, but you're like, hey, you know what? This is my wife. I love her. I know this is a need of hers. So we're gonna have maintenance sex. Now that word is off-putting, but you know how I love off-putting
It is
words.
off-putting. I don't
So
know if I would have used that particular word. Or yeah, it is off-putting.
is maintenance sex okay?
To me, in my opinion, again, I
Mhm.
don't like the wording, but yes, to me it's okay.
Okay.
I'm thinking of myself, right?
Mhm.
This stage of life that I'm in right now, and you know, when people go through menopause,
Mhm.
their libido tanks often,
Mhm.
and it's just really difficult to, but I know that once I start and once I initiate,
Mhm.
I'm good.
Okay. And that's what they say. Let me get Darren's comment, but that's part of what they say.
Right.
It's really no one's business what we do in my house. Yeah,
True.
that's true.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. What they do say is that maintenance sex helps with uh building intimacy because what often happens is that once you begin to engage,
Yep.
you become
You
engaged.
do. And that happens very often
Mhm.
with females, whether or not they are going through menopause or perimenopause like I am.
Mhm.
That happens very, very often. And I think it's Tammy. She's a
Tammy Hill.
she's a therapist.
Mhm.
Yes. She even says that you can't wait until often you can't wait until you feel like it
Mhm.
to
I've heard her say that.
yeah, to have sex.
Mhm.
for women, that just a lot of the time is not gonna happen. And so you should just, as far as you're able, you should go ahead and have sex. And then once you start, you'll get into it. And I that is true.
Should
Because
Mhm,
let me finish my thought.
mhm,
Because I don't feel like it's fair to you
mhm.
for you to be left high and dry like that.
Okay.
And so, because I know that once I get started, I'll be good and we'll be off to the races,
Mhm,
I'm gonna um overlook my initial thought of, man, I really do not feel like it.
mhm.
I'm gonna ignore that and go ahead anyway.
Hmm.
But
But
I think too that that doesn't mean that I ignore me all of the time.
good point.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So yeah,
Yep.
there's that.
Good point. Good point. I love what Doc Park said. Maintenance equals to maintain.
Mhm.
So that takes kind of the off-putting
Yeah.
out of the word. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Brian says, so is there any acts of affection, touches, kisses, hugs, not church hugs, rubs? And if you're asking for Brian and Allison,
Oh,
that if that's what you're asking for Brian and Allison, the answer is yes.
yes.
They talk about that in the article.
Yeah.
They said that they are still as interested in each other as they were. He talks about her being pretty and petite and funny. She talks about him being masculine. They said the word they use, let me see if I can find it. She said something about them being cuddly, and he talked about kisses and all that kind of. So there is that stuff happening
Yeah.
according to the article. Again, we can only go on what they're telling us, but yes, according to the article, that stuff is happening.
This is
Yes,
what makes me
married
feel
with
like
benefits, no blue balls, not in
no,
this house, my friend.
no. I
Not in this
yeah.
house.
This is why I really feel like something must have happened with
Mhm. With these
these
guys,
guys.
maybe, but I mean, we can only
Man.
speculate.
We can only speculate. Yeah,
We can
you're
only
right.
we can only speculate.
You're
So,
right.
Miss Humble Five said, "I'm okay with maintenance sex. It's like meeting a need.
Mhm.
It's the same as cooking a meal because my family
Needs
needs
to
to
eat.
eat." Mm.
I love that.
Brian said. Park said they are AI. There's a story about AI people.
Oh my goodness.
First time hearing the term maintenance sex. It doesn't sound healthy for younger couples, but for older marriage couples or couples in long marriage, it may be important in order to mend or keep the marriage. Let's remember, marriage is also an investment of time. Why? Tell me why you don't
Why
think
it
it's
doesn't sound healthy for younger couples.
I'd love to hear your
Reasoning.
yes, expand that because I'd
Yeah.
love to hear what that is. I'm gonna leave work early just to make sure we good.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yep. That's what's up.
Yes, sir.
That's what's up. So and here's the thing. So let me ask you this, and this is more so getting into advice than anything, which we don't normally do. But for the maintenance sex piece, right?
Mhm.
Should you now so for example, let's use a car for example.
Mhm.
In your car, you have scheduled maintenance. There are certain things that should happen at certain
Every
intervals,
certain
right?
thousand
You should
miles.
have, excuse me, you should have an oil change at this amount of miles. You
Mhm.
should change your belts at this amount of miles. You should
Mhm.
flush your radiator at this amount of miles. Should you now, with your spouse, designate what these cadences are? So if we haven't had, so for example, sorry, if we have, let's say, if we haven't had sex in 3 days,
Mhm.
it's on. Like somebody come grab somebody.
Yeah. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had
Okay.
first. I think that, to me, I can't come up with a cadence of every whatever 2-3 days
Mhm.
when you're thinking something differently.
Okay.
So I think that that would be a conversation that would need to be had first.
Okay.
And, an agreement as far as what the cadence should be for our relationship, because everybody's different.
Mhm.
Every relationship's different.
And I would say this again, I'm gonna stop making excuses about giving advice. This show is not about advice. But let me say this. Do not allow terminology
Correct.
to deter you from what the actual need is.
Yeah, agreed.
So if you don't like the word maintenance, that's fine. You're going to have to use a different word. But
Yep.
essentially, at the end of the day, is that you should be setting up a regular cadence around all kinds of intimacy development, including sexual intimacy.
Right.
Right. So there should be a cadence around. So if you're doing a date night and that date night covers your emotional intimacy building, or you have a whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So
I agree.
I will definitely put that out there. Darren said an agreement would be key. Communication is key. 7:5.
Yes.
Doc Parks, 3 days, man, 3 hours for me. I hear you, Doc. I hear you, brother. I hear you. I understand.
I don't hear you.
I understand. Appetite is healthy. Healthy appetite.
Healthy is a relative word.
It's not relative. How is healthy relative?
Either 3 days and 3 hours.
Either you healthy or you unhealthy. There ain't no in between. There ain't no. It's not relative. You either healthy or you unhealthy.
Hours. Okay.
That's too much, huh? That's too short of a span of time.
For me, it is.
You know, there's people, I've read articles of people where they say, twice a day.
I heard.
There's some twice a day. At least that's what they say. There's some twice a day people out there, right?
Okay.
Where you got to have some time on your hands for twice a day, or you really got
back in my 20s, but honey,
you got to be creative for twice a day. You got to get creative. For twice a day. But hey, that's what it is. So listen, that's all we had. This show is about us tossing something up in the air, letting everybody swing at it for a little bit, and then we go ahead and dash off. But I will say this: listen, if you can't, if sexual intimacy is important to you, you have to treat it like everything else that's important to you. Mm-hmm. That's really what that boils down to. And you're going to have some conversations about it. Yeah. Don't let any of this stuff go to chance. Listen, we can attest to putting ourselves on Front Street. We can attest to what happens when you don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. And one person is thinking something else. The other person is thinking something totally different.
Yeah.
And now we upset at each other and we don't even know why.
Right.
Because we ain't say nothing.
Yes.
So whatever the case may be, whether it's 20 years without, whether it's 20 minutes without, you got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. If you have no appetite, or like Doc Parks, you have a voracious appetite, you got to talk about it. That's really what it boils down to. You got to talk about it. So listen, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this tonight. You guys, as we say this every week, you guys are the best part of the conversation.
Yes.
Thank you for lending your 2 cents to this. And this is about conversation. Mm-hmm. This is about conversation. Conversation is a catalyst for growth. Conversation is a catalyst for learning. Conversation is a catalyst for bonding. Make sure that you have a conversation. Now, I don't think we will be here next week. Is that correct? I think my wife is speaking at an event next week.
Think we'll be. Yeah, we're not going to be here.
Thank you, Darren. Darren said great conversation. So we won't be here next week. Doc Parks, we still have to connect. I did
schedule that.
Right. I did reach out to faith-based workplace as well. So we're going to schedule that. Darren said sad face for next week. Yeah. So wifey will be speaking at an event. Pray for her as she shares and empowers and impacts in that way. So listen, we're going to get out of here. Have a fantastic rest of your night. Listen, there was a lot of talk about sex tonight, and all of y'all are married. So, it's a great opportunity to go do your thing. Just saying. Peace.
Bye, guys.
We'll see y'all soon. Have a fantastic rest of your evening and a great week. Great week. I think we got some other comments. Darren said, I will be in prayer. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Doc Park said, good deal. Just let you know. Absolutely. We'll do. Hey, Darren, see, that's what I'm talking about. My man. Let's get it. Did you hear what Darren said? Did you see what Darren said?
What?
He said, let's get it.
Okay.
All right. I'm turning the camera off.
Good night, everyone.
Camera's going off in 3.
Good night, Instagram family.
2, 1. Peace, y'all.